This is Teresa Henderbury from Athlone Institute of Technology, and in the short video I want to show you how to use absolute cell referencing in Excel. So to start off with, I have some very simple financial data inserted on my worksheet. I've got 5 balances here on the left hand side in the cell range A4 right down as far as cell A8, and what I want to do is I want to calculate the amount of interest added to each using the interest amount I have in the cell, or interest percentage amount in cell B1, and then I want to calculate what my new balance is based on the interest rate I've just added. So I've inserted the interest rate of 10% in cell B1, so I want to apply that interest rate to each of my previous balance figures. So this is, as you can see, is a very short number of accounts, but imagine this with hundreds of thousands of entries. So what I want to do is to write a separate formula for each of these balances. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to write the formula once and then copy the formula into all the other cells. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click first of all into cell B4 and I want to apply the interest rate of 10%. So that's a simple formula to multiply the contents of cell A4 by the contents of cell B1. So let's type in that form. So it's equals A4 multiplied by B1, and we press our enter or return key, and that should give us 1,000. So when I click back into the cell and I just even have a look at my data, I know that if I multiply 10,000 by 10%, that will give me 1,000. So we know that our formula has been calculated correctly. Now in Excel, we know there's a fill handle, which is a small box at the very bottom right hand corner of each cell. So I'm pointing towards it here. So when you place the mouse pointer over that blank box, it changes to a black cross. So that means you now have the fill handle option selected. So when you drag that down to each of the other cells, what that does, it copies the content of that cell, and that be copied down into each of the other cells. So I wanted to copy the contents of cell B4 down into the other cells. So that's what I'm just after doing. And the idea behind that is that it'll save me having to retype the formula in each of the cells. But as you can see, something has gone wrong. So when you click into cell B5, for example, we can see that the formula has changed. So we can see our formula up here in the formula bar at the very top. We can see the formula has changed in that it says equals A5, which is correct, so we know that's correct for our previous balance, and it's been multiplied by B2, which isn't correct because nothing in cell B2. So what Excel has done is it has correctly moved down the previous balance row by one row from A4 to A5, which is correct, but it's also copied down to cell B2, which is not what I want. So when I look at other cells, a similar thing has happened. So for example, if I click into cell B6, I see that in my formula bar here at the very top, it says correctly that's equal to A6, which is okay for my previous balance, but cell B3 multiplied by cell B3, which is interest added, which doesn't make sense, so that's obviously not going to give me a correct answer. And similarly for cell B7 and B8. So let's go back and delete the contents of these cells because they're no use to me anymore. So I'm going to highlight cell range B4 right down as far as cell B8 and just delete the contents of this cell. So how do I get my formula to copy down to the balances in column A but retain the contents of the value of cell B1? So let's relook at the formula in cell B4. So the original formula was equal to A4 by B1. So we already know that this gives us the right amount. So what we want to do, instead of just saying equals A4 by B1, what we want to do is put the dollar symbol in front of the letter B and also before the digit 1. So I'm just going to show this to you here. So equals A4 and our multiplied symbol again by, and we need to put in the dollar symbol before the column letter for cell B1, which in this case is B, and then dollar symbol and the row number, which in this case is B is 1. Okay, and when you press your enter key, that will then give your answer. So this is the exact same answer as we got before. So what I now want to do is use my fill handle option, very bottom right hand corner, and copy this down for each of the other cells. So when I now click into cell B5, for example, if I look at my formula bar here at the top, we'll see that my previous balance amount has moved down to the relevant option, but that the interest rate has been set or hasn't changed. So in other words, it's been set as cell B1, which is at the 10%, which is exactly what I want. And the reason that has happened is because I put the dollar symbol in front of B and the dollar symbol in front of 1, which indicates to Excel that this is an absolute cell. So again, if I click into each of the others, and if I look at my formula bar up here, I can again see that cell B1 is not changing, so it's my absolute cell. So if we look at each one of them, so the previous balance row is changing, but the 10% is not changing as we go along. So we can see that all these formulas are correct. So now what we want to do is to calculate our new balance. So our new balance is a very simple addition formula. So what we want to do is add the contents of our previous balance and the interest added to find our new balance. So in cell C4, we type in our formula, so it equals A4 plus B4, and press our return key. And so that should give us 11,000. So, and then just looking in cell A4 and B4, I know we've 10,000 and 1,000, and to add those up, that will give us 11,000. So again, we use our fill handle option to copy our formula down for each of the other cells, right down as far as cell C8, and that should then give us our correct answers. The huge advantage of absolute cell referencing is that if, for example, I want to change the interest rate here in cell B1 to 8%, the contents of my cells will automatically change. So I don't have to apply a different interest rate and different formulas each time. So for example, if I change the interest rate here in cell B1, I'll just delete the 10 and type in 8 instead. And if I just press enter, you'll notice how the contents of each of the cells change. So this concludes this how-to video. I hope you found it useful. My name is Teresa Henry, and I'd like to thank you for your attention.